Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our podcast, As Good as Gold. I'm Raymond, the Brand and Communications Manager at Hugo Safe. We are a financial app that helps Singaporeans spend, save, and invest more effectively, optimize your finances for the long term. In this episode, I have invited three professors from NUS, Professors Hoon, Sumit Agarwal, and Tien. They are the authors of the popular Kiasunomics series of books. It is how Singaporeans, the kiasu nature, or what we call FOMO nowadays, right? How that nature, that culture affects the way we manage our finances, like looking for a new school, buying our property, looking for a career, how we save, how we spend, and how we invest, right? Now, before we start, let's have Professor Ang introduce herself.
Sure. Thank you so much for inviting us, and thank you so much for tuning in as well. As what Raymond said, we are from NUS Business School. I'm with the marketing department. I'm very passionate about marketing. So it's so strange, right? Strange bedfellows, marketing with finance, but it works. So next then to Sumit, who will introduce himself.
Thank you. I'm Sumit Agarwal. I am a professor in the finance department. I'm also a director of a new institute called Sustainable and Green Finance.
Hi, I'm Tien Singh. I'm professor at Department of Real Estate Business School. I teach real estate finance investment. I'm also director of Institute of Real Estate and Urban Study at NUS.
Right.
Pleased to be here.
Thank you very much for joining me. Let's talk about what your book is about. Maybe Professor Ang, you can introduce more into what Kiasunomics is about.
Sure. You've already said about kiasu, and that really is one of the foundations or the thrust of this book. We got to writing this book because we were doing all these research that were published in academic journals, and such research are very technical in nature. They are also read only by a select group of people with PhD students, our professors around the world, and so on. And we thought it was so sayang. Let me introduce another Singapore local term. It's so sayang, or such a waste, that such knowledge is really only being understood and appreciated or benefited by a small group of people. And so we wanted to share it with the community because there are benefits to be gotten from there. What our findings have shown could help people make better decisions regarding finance, where they live, and so on, right? Economic matters. And we really want not just Singapore, but outside Singapore as well, that people make better decisions, they be smarter, right? Smarter people for a smarter nation, and so on. And so we had to distill such technical knowledge from research into stories that people can relate to.
Thank you for the very detailed rundown over why, as to why you guys decided to write this book. And I really agree with you. I think for a long time, a lot of knowledge has been locked or made not accessible to the lay people, right? One of the reasons why we created the Hugo Safe app, right, is so that, look, if you need something to start with to manage your finances, right, this tool can help you get started. Now, let's go to Professor Sumit. In this book, you wrote a story of a Singaporean, of a lay person in Singapore, right? And shaped by the culture that he grew up in. In your research writing this book, what did you observe? What do you see? What are some interesting behaviors, cultural elements, or preferences that have that influence over the way we manage our money?
Very good question. Let me start out with an example, okay? Singaporeans are very particular about their children's education. They care a lot which school they go to. And that's why there are all these parameters defined. Within 1 kilometer of the school, you get preferential treatment. Within 2 kilometers and within 3 kilometers. And these are very important things because you get to ballot first and your child gets in. And it's a matter of pride for parents to say, my child goes to Nanwa school or XYZ school. So that's kiasu, very kiasu nature of people. Recently in the Straits Times, there was this article that they changed the way the definition of the buildings will be in relation to a school. And they said 10% more buildings will come within a 1 kilometer radius because of the redefinition. Now that has a huge implication on property prices. So a while ago, there was these school relocations. We used that to identify how much will house prices change because of the preference by parents for a certain school. And we found huge effects on how house prices are impacted merely because of the school choice. That has implication on your asset accumulation that you do as an individual, as a parent, or actually maybe on how parents end up paying a lot of money just to get their children to a particular school.
So the Singaporeans, I'm going to invite Professor Singh to touch on the next question, which is, so Singaporeans, because of things like I want my children to get into a good school. It can't be just me wanting to go into one school, right? There's really a lot of parents wanting to go to one school, right? There's high demand, and then so that particular area becomes all the properties in that particular area enjoys higher demand, right? Right? How does that impact our choices to buy property?
Well, I think housing is always something close to the heart of Singaporean. A lot of these decisions are not just driven by kiasu, as you say, fears of missing out. We see, especially recently, there are so many hype about property purchases, prices breaking the record, and so on. I think when we look at this, when we started this research about 10 years ago, we actually working on a series of research for Singaporean behavior. I think we are not just looking at the unique features, the cultures, perspective, preferences, and so on. I think we want to look at how to actually explain, how to understand some of the rational thinking or irrational behaviors of some of these buyers. I think if you look at it, even though we know the parents are kiasu, very competitive, but some of these behavior, really some rational behind them. The motivation about these parents choosing of buying house near the school, they actually have very strong motivation. They want to get the children into good school. I think this is it's not merely kiasu. I think this behavior is quite rational. I think you want your children to have a better education, to get into a good school, even though our government have been advocating every school is good school, but I think there are still parents who feel that. I think there are certain schools they want their children to be affiliated with, or they want to get the children into it. I think buying houses is not a simple decision. I think when we buy grocery, we buy drinks, you do comparison between sugars, how much is NTUC cost and this sanction. I think when people buying house, why can't they do a lot more?
I will.
Research?
You know what? When I go do grocery shopping, I will divide by weight, so that I know by per gram. Is this brand really cheaper? But I think by house, if I buy my property, right, I don't think I'll be going by any. I'm not gonna measure it anywhere near how I'm doing it for my groceries.
Yeah, precisely. Because you buying grocery, you do it every day. Maybe you buy a house maybe one in your lifetime. You should actually be more careful and more competitive and making your research. I think these are really two issues that drive this. I think one is actually a big stake involved. I think it's a very huge capital outlay. It's talking about millions of dollars of this investment. The other thing is a lot of uncertainty. Where do you find these houses? Where do you find this information? Where do you get info? Whether this unit are available, because it's not that you want to buy the house near the school, you can find the house. So as Sumit mentioned, it's very important in Singapore because of this policy.
I think part of the reason is because to buy a car is so expensive in Singapore. So if we want to avoid, being captured by the need to buy a car, right? Then living next to a school will be the next better option. So again, it's not just housing. Buying a house is not a decision in its own silo, right? Suddenly, transport becomes a very important or very potent reason why people have their own property choices. So now in your book, I'm opening up to all three. In your book, you mentioned that certain birth years are in high demand, right? People try to gun for that particular year to give birth to their child, and then some avoid a certain year. Now, when that happens, of course, we venture into the broader socio-economic discussion, right? Now, let's talk about the birth years first. What do you observe? Which years are the most popular years and which years are the least popular years?
So I'll say that quite obviously, Year of the Dragon is very popular, and especially if you're going to have a dragon boy, right? And the least popular is the tiger, Year of the Tiger. Okay, and there's always this belief that if you're born in the year of the dragon, you'll be bestowed with all these good qualities, all right, and good luck and so on. And so we do see a slight blip up in the birth rate when it's year of the dragon. And so we studied on cohort size effects. So in economics, there's this thing about like if you have got a very large size, you know, a lot more competitive, right? The number of people who are in this cohort size, the larger it is, they are very competitive because the resources are scarce. There's only so many things available, but there are so many people aiming for it.
Raymond, for your audience, I mean, I think the question we are interested in is, do these superstitions really hold water if we want to test them? Okay, the parents believe it. Obviously, the birth rate goes up by 8%. So parents believe that their children will be, yes. So 8% more babies are being born. Now, if you think about it, do parents really believe that when there is this baby who's born in the year of the dragon, will they be fortunate? Will they have all these good jobs, good fortunes, good wealth? Or is it really taking up a lot more resources in society? And as a result, the children will not actually do as well because, you know, they will be competing with 8% additional children for the attention of the employers, for the attention of the teachers, as Swee pointed out. So that is the tension we were trying to solve. And what we found is that, in fact, the dragon baby is just a myth. These children end up competing for more resources from the teachers, from the employers. Hence, their wages are lower. Hence, their grades are lower. And more kids end up not doing as well in life. So that was a punchline. Now, you might say, look, these are myths. Why did you need to go out and test it? Obviously, we need to prove it empirically to the layman and also the academic audience that we as academics will go out and hunt down and test everything carefully.
So when it comes to that, do you have any advice for family planning?
If you really believe that you want to have a dragon baby, or you want to have a house number 88, or you want to do something in the ghost month, go ahead. But you should do it knowing well that there will be externalities of this, and there will be consequences on the life of your children, or you will be paying more for that apartment that is on the 8th floor, number 8, or when you don't buy something on the Hungry Ghost month, you will pay an economic cost for it, even though you're kiasu and doing these things because you believe in it.
To add to the issue about this zodiac issue, another superstitious kind of belief, number 8 and number 4. You know, is number 8 more auspicious? Is number 4, you know, less popular? And we find that there is a significant premium. I think about around 3% for those people who buy number 8. You're willing to pay a little bit more because number 8 actually auspicious. But does it mean it really bring you luck? You know, in Chinese, 8 is fun, right? You know, especially Chinese. There's very strong preference for number 8. If you have unit number with number 8, you actually command a premium. But however, interestingly, in Singapore, we also find that even though Malay and non-Chinese, Malay Indian, they also pay a premium for number 8. Is that number 8 mean anything for those non-Chinese? I think this go back to the issue about belief, because I think when you buy a house with some advantage or kind of preference kind of features, especially number 8. You expect when you sell it, subsequently you want to sell it at a higher price as well. That's why I think even non-Chinese, they are not superstitious. They also pay a premium.
Yeah, then they would be making
it.
They would be considering it from an economic standpoint, right? While the superstitious buyers will be considering it on a more of a luck basis.
Yeah, but why is it superstition? I think we did some tests, I think if you think that lady number 8 bring you luck, does it mean that those people who live in unit with number 8 become less prone to accident? So we actually did a study, look at accident rate. There's no difference actually. Whether you live in number 4 or number 8, it's a random process.
How about
chance of being?
How about prosperity?
Yeah.
Do people who live in number 8 as compared are more prosperous when it comes as compared to people who live in units with 4?
No. I mean, look, as we pointed out earlier with dragon babies, we already proved that, look, they are actually, in fact, less prosperous who are dragon babies, even though they are more 8%. And we show them why they are less prosperous, because they're competing for more resources or finite resources. More people are competing for them. As a result, they don't do as well. So I think that was point proven. So we said we don't need to again show this here. We just want to show are they paying more for the houses that they're buying.
We have this information about the Toto, the jackpot. Unfortunately, we do not know the winner address. Otherwise, it would be interesting to look at this winner. Do they actually stay at number 8? What is the chances of them getting strike Toto or jackpot? I don't think so. I don't think that there's any correlation between that.
Yeah, for the next cultural element, I think our viewers will be very interested to know any research that tells us the way Singaporeans approach romance. How does our idea of romance in Singapore affect our financial standing or decisions?
Raymond, you are going into our Kiasunomics 3, number 3.
Oh, that's the third book. Okay. Then don't spoil too much.
That will be in it. Maybe we'll just give a little bit of a teaser.
Yeah.
Okay. So the romance here, it concerns buying a HDB flat or booking for it, right? So do they get married earlier so that, because there's a long waiting period, right? When you book the HDB flat and before you actually get it physically. And so, are you married for romance or for the HDB flat? So that will be discussed in number 3.
There's a joke, right? In other countries, you propose with a ring, right? You make it a surprise. You get down on one knee when of course, in most cultures, the male will be the one doing it, right? So the male will plan out everything and then wait for one day the unsuspecting and then propose to the unsuspecting girlfriend with a ring. In Singapore, some of my friends tell me because of the way we do things, right, we totally remove that surprise, because when I say, hey, so and so, do you want to go and visit HDB with me, and then you kind of let the game out already, right? So maybe in your research, how does the generic Singaporean courtship affect how we approach finance? Because I think recently, even the ring, speak about the ring, about having to have an engagement ring and a wedding ring, and then how many carats must it be, the competition, the pressure, the peer pressure, how do all these make a dent in our finance?
Well, I would say then De Beers has done a fantastic marketing job in promoting the diamond ring, that you need to spend at least 2 months of your salary.
It's 3 now.
Oh, 3 now?
Yes, it's 3 now. My friend recently told me, I said, hey, do you have any benchmark? They said, some people say it's 3 months. 3 months? I have to slog for 3 months to buy a ring? And that's not the final ring?
Wow, I should have gotten married later. The diamond ring will just get bigger, right?
Swee Hoon, there is still time. You can marry again.
No, but so true, right? Do you want to spend 3 months of your salary on a diamond ring? That 3 months could very well go into the house, right? Reduce your loan, your furniture, and so on. Especially if this is your first property purchase, right? Which I think in most instances it would be if you're buying a diamond ring at that time. And so it really is it's a decision balancing between the sentiment, the romance of it, right? Versus being more pragmatic. Some people will say it makes financial sense to buy the diamond ring because you keep your partner very satisfied, and blissfulness makes a happy life, and you may then make better decisions. But of course, I'm the only female here in this group. Sumit, what do you think?
Look, I think making consumption decisions is very tricky. I mean, I could define consumption into various buckets. One is what you're calling as discretionary items, like buying a wedding ring or buying a car or all those could be discretionary. Okay, you may not need it, but you want it because it conveys romance, it conveys commitment, or it conveys certain sentiments. You could actually, if those discretionary items are appreciating over time or not depreciating at least, then it is worth it from a finance point of view. But if you buy durable items that will be lasting forever, like buying a car or a fridge or a house, those are better. So I think, as Swee pointed out, De Beers has done great marketing. And actually, the fridge companies have done very poor marketing. And in fact, fridge companies should be saying, look, buy a fridge and I'll marry you. And that would be great because you don't only get a fridge, but you also get something to, store your food in.
How about buying HDB and marry you?
That's exactly what some people. They propose to HDB. They effectively just signaled their intention to marry, right? If they say, "Hey, would you like to go and check out?" I don't even have to be at the HDB, the balloting office, right? I just have to open up Property Guru, and that's enough to signal my intention, right? And better still, if the HDB is near the MRT station, near a great school, central location.
Yeah. Tien, do you want to talk about the MRT students?
Yeah, I mean to add on to what Stephen mentioned around the house and married for house and married for love. This is the chapter we have. Basically, I think in Singapore is very, very, very important. Housing is one of the important, and not just as I say, you need a space in order to get married for the couple to form their family. So how soon the HDB can complete their house and how much they can actually pump out in terms of BTO have impact on how soon people get married. If your houses delay and all this, I think your marriage may be affected as well. I think that's what we have seen. I think the houses is no longer just married for the roof over your head, but you want to. I think people also use that as a signal of your social status. I think people buying houses for various considerations. Those who buy houses for consumption, you want it to be convenience and you want it to be close to MRT station, as you mentioned. But how close is close, and you have to figure out, is 400 meters close enough? 500 meters, is it too far to walk? All this actually have some impact, actually, when we did the study. And then also you have to take into consideration, but close proximity to MRT station is not just convenient as well. Usually you look at MRT station, what will happen? All the shopping malls, all the amenity will come along, so you also pay because of this convenience, right?
Hey, that was only the first part of our podcast with the Kiasunomics authors. Stay tuned for more. All opinions in this podcast should not be regarded as offering any financial advice. Listeners are encouraged to seek advice from a qualified financial advisor regarding the suitability of any financial strategy, taking into account their specific financial objectives, situation,
or particular needs before they act upon any recommendation.